Hello students and welcome to Deeksha Karnataka YouTube channel. So today I am going to discuss a very important question that most of the students always ask me, sir, physics is very difficult, physics is always hard. Now the question is physics the toughest subject in KCET? That is a burning question, and we will try to understand why you think, most of us think that physics is difficult, and how can you overcome it, and how can you become a master in physics quickly. So let's start with the reason why we think physics is hard. Okay, so that is the first point that you have to understand, that physics, first of all, we study and learn physics in a wrong way. So most of us, what we do, we just put more focus on all the formulas and try to learn all the shortcuts, and in between we get confused, right? So whenever we are learning something, oh, Coulomb's law, this is the formula. So if I ask someone what is Coulomb's law, he will say K Q1 Q2 by R square. So that is not the way to learn physics. You have to understand basic things, then you can progress. Okay, we will discuss what are all the solutions for that, but before that, let us understand why we are doing it wrong. What things that we are doing wrong? We are just mugging up the equations, we are just mugging up the formulas, and we are thinking that in the exam we will answer all the questions that is coming, and then when we are failing, then we realize something is wrong, physics is hard, I am not going to pass in physics. So basically, main thing you think whenever physics comes into your mind, first of all, you think that formulas are difficult, you have to remember a lot of formulas. That's where your first mistake. Second mistake is that mathematics used to solve physics problems is hard and different than whatever we are doing in our mathematics class. So you have to use a lot of mathematics, yes, and when you are using mathematics, you think that the mathematics that we use in physics is different. Basically, because in mathematics you are learning everything is like x, y, z, but in physics you are learning u, sometimes u, v, sometimes q1, q2. So same equations you are using, but because the variable names are different, you are getting confused thinking that the mathematics that we use in physics is different. So that is another point. Last is that we start ignoring physics because we think physics is difficult, and some people already have that in their mind because of the previous experiences that physics is difficult, it is difficult to remember, difficult to understand, and they start ignoring physics from the beginning. I have seen students, they do a very good in mathematics, they do very good in biology, but when it comes to the fact of physics, they are struggling because they are not studying it, they are ignoring it, and just before the exam they started opening the books and they think, oh, physics is very hard, I will not pass in it, I will not score well in physics. So basically what happens is that when you start ignoring physics, the backlog is mounting on you, and the pressure is increasing, and then you are and because of that you are still ignoring physics more. So it is like a cycle that you start ignoring, backlog increases, you feel the pressure, you keep on ignoring it, thinking it's the difficult subject. So now these are the major problems when you are learning physics. So these are the main reason that you think that physics is difficult. Now let us understand how can we overcome this fear. So that is the major part, that whenever you are studying something, you have to overcome the fear of physics. That is the major thing that you have to do. If you do these steps that I am going to suggest to you, then physics will no longer be remaining the difficult subject. So what are the solution? First is, learning basics is more important than remembering all the formulas and shortcuts. Yes, formulas and shortcuts do help some extent, but first thing that you have to learn is the basics. Whenever you are studying a chapter, understand what is the essence of that chapter, what is the meaning of that equation. So k q1 q2 by r square, if I say you, then you will understand this is Coulomb's law. But what is Coulomb's law? This is a force. First of all, you have to understand what is a force. Force means when you apply something on an object and the object starts moving, or a moving object comes to an rest, that is called force. So Coulomb's law is basically a force. So you have to understand the basics. If you understand the basics in KCET, nothing you can overcome. Next thing you have to do, you have to know, this is a fact, it is not something that you have to realize, it's a fact that the mathematics in the is the same that you learn in the class. Okay, so mathematics is the same that you learn in the class, but it is the same mathematics that you learn in the class, but sometimes what happens is that the variables, as I said, is different, the names are different, so that's why stop avoiding mathematics in physics. Physics is the core backbone of physics. Okay, mathematics is the backbone of physics, so you have to understand that you have to be strong in mathematics. I know most of you are strong in mathematics, but still you are not good in physics, thinking that the mathematics is some process, but that same process you have to understand, that you have to apply, you can apply those understandings in physics as well. And then you have to study physics just like any other subject. If you are studying chemistry, you are studying biology, you are studying mathematics, you have to study physics as well, and try to avoid mounting up the backlog. So backlog, if you have backlog, then there will be a very, very difficult time ahead of you. Now to help you with all of this, to cater for particular students who are preparing for KCET and KCET and COMEDK 2020-20 we are bringing you a 90-day crash course, KC90. KC90, where you will get the expert guidance by all the teachers for full syllabus of class 11th and 12th. You will also get chapter wise previous year questions paper solutions. You will get daily practice papers. You will get Abhyas KCET and COMEDK test series included in KC90. You don't have to purchase them separately. You will also get PU board test series. You will get live doubt classes, and the crash course, 21-day crash course before exam, whenever we launch, you will get that as well included in KC90. It's a comprehensive package for 90 days. Every project, every product that we are going to launch online, you will be getting access to that absolutely free of cost for KCET and COMEDK. Right, so in KC90 COMEDK actual price is 20,597, but you will be getting everything in 9,999, okay, including COMEDK and KCET 2026. But if you are someone who only want to focus on KCET, then the price is 5,999, and if you want to take part only in COMEDK, I am good with KCET, I just want to help with COMEDK, then 5,999 is the price for COMEDK. Now let's continue with how to implement the same solution in KCET. So we have learned the mistakes, we have learned how to overcome those mistakes. Now how to implement that in KCET, we will be discussing in two slides. First is, this is the first slide. So know the important chapters. First of all, you have to understand what are all the important chapters, and you can complete those chapters effectively. Okay, so you have to complete all the important chapters effectively and understand what are all the important chapters first. Secondly, solve more questions and PYQs. So as soon as you start solving PYQs, you will have an idea what are all the questions that is coming in KCET, how you can improve in certain areas. Suppose you are strong with say current electricity chapter, but you are not so strong with electric charges chapter, so you have to focus on electric charges chapter more than current electricity, right? So that's how you can understand, okay, this chapter I am strong, this chapter I am not so strong. You have to adjust that level and improve your efficiency. Next is, start with easier questions first. So you have to understand that in KCET there are a lot of questions which are basically easy. So understand those and answer those easy questions. Later on, as you are progressing, once you have the confidence, once you have the knowledge, then you can start with the difficult questions. Next is, attempt mock test and simulated exams. So if you are part of KC90, you will get Abhyas case series whenever it is launched. So in that, we are going to give you mock tests, and you have to answer them in within the stipulated time, so that you can judge, okay, how many questions I can answer. So attempting mock test is very, very important. Even if you are not part of Abhyas KCET test series, you have to do it on your own at home, and try to answer 60 questions in 60 minutes. That will give you an idea, okay, how quickly and how well I am able to answer those questions, and what are all the areas where I need some improvement. Next is part 2, implement in KCET. Read the complete question. So whenever you are answering questions, it is not a PU board question. Okay, PU board questions, if you see the questions first 2 lines, you will understand, okay, this is basically asking about this. But in KCET it is not that simple. So you have to read the questions completely, understand the meaning of the question. Sometimes the question is very easy, but the language of the question can be difficult. So understand the question, then only you should attempt the question. Break down into parts whenever is possible. So if you are reading a question, you understand, suppose this is a difficult question, the difficult question contains multiple parts. So first you have to calculate, say, force, second you have to apply that force and calculate the acceleration. So break down the question into parts whenever it is possible. Next is learn tricks for calculations, no calculator. So I always say that to success in KCET, stop using your calculator in your day-to-day life. Do not use calculator, stop using your calculator, then your brain will start functioning better. Okay, trust me when I say this, when you are using calculators, your brain, the normal 2 plus 2 4 calculations, you are not able to do properly. So if you are stop using your calculators, then you will be able to understand, okay, 2 plus 2 is still 4, whether you are using a calculator or whether you are not using a calculator. Okay, so basically try to understand calculation tricks. Calculation tricks are simple. If you have watched my videos in the past, I am always using calculative tricks, and I will never use calculator in my classes. Even in PU board problems, there are some questions where you need to use calculators, but still I try to avoid the calculators as much as possible. Next is use logic to answer correctly. Sometimes even if you don't know the question actual answer, you can try to apply some logic and try to find and answer correctly. That is also a skill that you have to develop. It will not come in 1 day or 2 day or 3 day. It will come after a long practice. So you have to keep on practicing these things. First of all, stop using calculator. Secondly, try to answer the questions. Even if you don't know the answer, just don't try to randomly guess it. Try to use some logic behind your answer, and if your logic is correct, definitely your answer will also be correct. Now let us solve 2 example questions. Many students think that KCET physics questions will be difficult. So I have taken some example questions from 2024 and one from 2025. 2 questions I am solving, and you will see that the questions are not difficult. It can be tricky if you don't know the concept, but if you know the concept, it is not that difficult. The total electric flux through a closed spherical surface of radius small r enclosing an electric dipole of dipole moment 2aq is given. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. So you might think this will be a very difficult question. How to calculate it? We have to apply some formulas, some laws, but we sometimes ignore the basics. What law we are going to use here? We are basically going to use Gauss's law. Okay, and Gauss's law states that if we have a surface, okay, then if we have a surface, the electric flux through the closed surface, the radius is given as r. Now here we have a dipole. Dipole, basically what is the meaning of dipole? Dipole has a positive charge, dipole also has a negative charge. Now dipole is completely enclosed by this surface. So what is the net charge enclosed? Net charge enclosed here is basically plus q minus q, that is 0. So from Gauss's law we can see that the net charge enclosed here is 0. So the electric flux will also be 0. Now let's move on to the next question. The graphs between variation of resistance of a metal wire as a function of its diameter keeping other parameters like length and temperature constant is. So basically here we have a graph of resistance and the diameter of the wire. This is a question from KCET 2025. So diameter and resistance. So what is the basic relationship between diameter and resistance? There is, if you have learned the formula for resistance, or if you remember the components on which resistance depends, there is no direct relationship with diameter. But we know that resistance of a wire is directly proportional to its length, and resistance of a wire is inversely proportional to its area. Right? These two things we know. Now area is dependent on the diameter. Why? Because if you consider a circular cross section of a wire, this is the area. And what is the area? If the radius diameter is d, suppose diameter is d, so what is the radius? Radius is diameter by 2. And what is the area? Area is pi r square or pi d square by 4. So radius, there is no direct relationship with diameter, but if you substitute the area in this equation, you will get that resistance is actually inversely proportional to square of the diameter. Now let me just make one small correction, because its radius and resistance both are same, so let me use it small r. Okay, small r means radius, capital R is resistance. Okay. So resistance is inversely proportional to square of the diameter, because rest of the terms pi and 4 are constant. So resistance is inversely proportional to the square of the diameter. So we know that inverse square relation gives a graph like this. So this is definitely the correct answer. So if you know some fundamental concepts, you will be able to answer the most difficult questions as well. There will be some difficult questions, very difficult questions. Those questions even in normal class you may not be able to answer it if you don't know the particular trick. But that you have to remember that if there is a question, there is a difficult question, the question will be difficult for everyone. So even if you skip those questions, it will not create any harm. But the questions that you should answer correctly. Okay, even if the question appears to be difficult, actually it is not so difficult. So understand the question, understand the underlying concept behind the question, and then you can answer it properly. Right? Now there is a bonus for you. I told you understand the important chapters for physics. So here are the list of important chapters that you cannot skip. You have to learn all the chapters properly, study them thoroughly, and do not stuck in a single chapter. You have to skip. You have to give yourself a timeline. Okay, I have to complete this chapter say in 1 week. So if you are not able to complete that chapter in 1 week, then you have to give, okay, I am not able to complete, I will give myself 1 day and I will complete the chapter in next 1 day, and then I will move on. You have to adjust this. Okay, you cannot stay stuck on electric charges and field chapter for 1 month because it's an important chapter. You cannot do that. The time is not there. Okay, so let us understand, let us know the important chapters. Electric charges and fields, average 4 questions. Electrostatic potential and capacitance, average 3 questions. Current electricity, the most important chapter, 6 questions comes from this chapter. Moving charges and magnetism, 4 questions. Alternating current, 3 questions. Ray optics and optical instrument, 4 questions. Wave optics, 2 to 3 questions. Dual nature of radiation and matter, another 3 questions. And a new entrance from last year, that is experiments that you perform in your laboratory in PU1 and PU2, including both. Total 3 questions are going to come from experiments as well. So this is the new latest important list of important chapters. So you should not ignore them. You have to not only study them, you have to also practice the previous year questions from this chapter. And if you do everything well, then you might come and meet us in our post result celebration. If you are one of the top students, definitely we will invite you and you have to come and meet us with us. Right? With this note, I'd like to thank you everyone for watching, and if you have any doubts, any more questions, please don't forget to mention that in the comment section of this video.